Welcome to Vacuum Wars and to our review of the Roborock Saros 10R. The Saros 10R is one of the new flagship robot vacuums from Roborock announced earlier this year at CES. We bought one for ourselves and have been testing it in various ways over the past few weeks, and it is packed with all the cutting-edge specs and features that you would expect from a top-of-the-line robot like this, but it also has some new features and significant upgrades from previous models. In this video, I'll go over the pros and cons of the Saros 10R and reveal exactly how high it ended up ranking on the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list at the end. But spoiler alert, it's super high. So links in the description, and let's get started. First, the basics. The Roborock Saros 10R is sold in two different configurations. The one that we bought has the standard auto-empty mop washing station, but they also offer a version that can hook directly up to your plumbing system in your house, so you can automate the filling of the clean water tank and the emptying of the dirty water tank. The Saros 10R is not to be confused with the Saros 10, which was released at the same basic time and at a similar price, but with a few small changes. Notably, the Saros 10 has a retractable top-mounted LiDAR and a slightly different mopping configuration, and we will review that version in an upcoming video. Starting off with the pros, let's begin with the hardware features related to vacuuming, because like most Roborocks, it was extremely good at its main job of sweeping up debris from the surfaces of hard floors and carpets. It uses the relatively new Duo Divide main brush, which is essentially two brush rolls with a gap in the middle for hair to channel through to prevent tangling. And in our 7-inch hair test, the 10R did perfectly by resisting 100% of the hair, which is better than average. It also has a newly designed hair-resistant side brush, which also worked well in both sweeping and resisting tangles. It also picked up 92% of the flattened 2.5-inch pet hair on carpet, where the average is 80% for that test. It was also better than average at picking up deeply embedded debris like sand in carpets. It has the relatively new FlexiArm side brush, which automatically extends for better corner coverage, which does seem to work very well. Moving on to its navigation and obstacle avoidance, which was a huge pro for the Saros 10R. It uses what Roborock calls Starsight navigation, which was first introduced last year on the Roborock Slim, which uses the industry's first dual-transmitter solid-state LiDAR in combination with time-of-flight sensors, which eliminates the need for a top-mounted spinning LiDAR sensor in order to achieve similar mapping and navigation results. This new system allows it to have a super low profile of 3.14 inches, meaning that it can get under furniture that other robots, which are typically an inch taller, can't. But it also has some upgrades to its front-mounted obstacle avoidance system. It uses a camera-based system with AI recognition trained on 108 objects, a vertical light beam, as well as a rear sensor, which all seems to work together to amazingly improve its obstacle avoidance over previous generations. In the various obstacle avoidance tests that we do, the Saros 10R got the first perfect score that we've seen, 24 points out of a possible 24. It was able to see even the smallest objects that many of its competitors, including most Roborocks, miss. It does have 3 sensitivity settings for its obstacle avoidance, which we always set to maximum for these tests. One other navigation hardware feature is the new Adapt Lift chassis, which in addition to a front wheel lifting mechanism that we first saw with the Edge and Curve, the 10R also has omnidirectional wheels and a wheel lift mechanism which help with thresholds and other issues like U-shaped chairs. I tested this by first telling it in the app where the threshold was, and it did indeed clear the 20 and 26 millimeter boards, and while Roborock says it can clear up to 40 millimeters with 2-tiered thresholds, I found that it was not able to clear 1-tiered thresholds at around 36 millimeters. So much better than previous robot vacuums that we've tested, but some limitations, and frankly, I need to develop a more consistent test for this now that it's becoming such a common feature. Its mopping system was also a huge pro. It uses 2 spinning mop pads with electronically controlled water dispensing, and one of its mop pads can automatically extend when it senses edges for better coverage. Its mop pads can lift up automatically 8 millimeters when it senses carpets to vacuum carpets and rugs without getting them wet, but you also have the option to tell it to vacuum carpets first if you want. And for the first time on any Roborock, you can actually have it leave its mop pads behind when vacuuming carpets and then go back and pick them up for the mopping run. So you have 3 ways to make sure it can vacuum and mop homes with a mixture of hard floors and carpets in the same run. As far as its mopping performance, it was better than average on our dried stain pickup test at 103 points, but it was also slightly less than average with the water penalty test, where we weigh the water it leaves behind to determine its potential for streaking. Another huge part of its mopping story, though, is the multifunctional dock. In addition to being a place for the robot to charge and for it to empty its dustbin into a disposable bag, the dock also washes its mop pads with hot water, dries the mop pads with hot air, and refills the robot's mop tank with water. The Saros 10R has a bin self-cleaning feature, which uses a removable module that has 2 spinning squeegees on it. The dock also has a dirty water sensor, which can tell how dirty the mop water is, and if it is dirty, it will initiate more cleanings of its pads or even additional mopping runs. Also, the dock has a quick charging feature, which is rare. Its battery life was a pro. In our various battery tests, the battery efficiency and estimated square foot per charge were all higher than average, but it does seem to have less official runtime than some of the previous Roborock flagships, which all had best-in-class battery performance and features. So its battery was better than average, but not quite as good as previous Roborocks. Its app was a big pro, in my opinion. The app has everything you can think of in terms of features, from advanced scheduling, multi-level maps, virtual barriers, voice-activated virtual assistant, advanced pet-related features that can go look for your pet and interact with them, and much more. It's one of, if not the best apps in the industry, from easy setup to UX. Moving on to the cons. The mapping and navigation were good, but without the top-mounted LiDAR, it did seem to be a little less efficient than many of the similarly priced Roborocks that have top-mounted LiDAR. It got right at the average amount in our navigation efficiency test, which is certainly passable, but it seems like you sacrifice just a little bit in terms of efficiency for the slim design. Another thing is that its internal dustbin is much smaller than average at 270 milliliters. This can be mitigated by programming it to return to its base more often during its run, especially if you have a house that has a lot of large dogs and thus a lot of pet hair. But other than those 2 things, it was kind of hard to find something to pick on. And when you add up all the scores, the Roborock Saros 10R ended up ranking number 1 on our top 20 robot vacuum list on our website, though it was really close to the Roborock Crevo Edge in terms of points. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this ranking changes in the coming weeks as new products from all kinds of different manufacturers are released. But at least for now, the Roborock Saros 10R is our favorite overall robot vacuum out of the over 100 robot vacuums that we've independently bought and tested. Be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new top 20 robot vacuums list, which is updated weekly.